Oh, shit. I got to record this.
And so we did figure out that once we hit record, it jumps on, even though we can't see it, right?
Hold on. I got
So we're on.
Yeah. And let me go through and share into my Facebook to let people know that we are on live before we actually get moving. And you had, let me see.
Do you hear that?
What?
That feedback, whatever that is?
Is it a humming sound?
I do.
Yeah.
What is?
I think it's actually, unfortunately, I think it's my computer.
Oh, got you.
I will, when I go through and like produce it, I'll pull that out. I think I'll be able to yank that out.
All right.
Why am I yellow?
Don't know.
Yeah, it's just the camera, the lighting and the camera and whatever it is in that zone is not, you know what I mean? It's lighting is kind of, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It is. I struggle with it so much because I'm not
We've had a little,
naturally good.
yeah, we've had a little bit of glitchiness with on Bernadette's side, so it's something that we're probably going to have to just kind of push through. All right, you ready, Mark?
It's been fine for me though.
Yeah,
Yep, I am ready.
It's been fine so far? Okay.
All right. Great morning, great evening, good afternoon, depending where you're at in this beautiful planet Earth, this amazing universe. Welcome to Brown and Spiritual AF. Happy mother loving Sun. Today is Sunday, right, guys? I don't even know because I just woke up, guys. Yes, you heard that straight. Sometimes you forget work is today and you get a text message saying, hey, check this out. Are you jumping on? So welcome to Brown and Spiritual AF, where we have another amazing guest, guys. How you guys liking this platform and the way we switched up the way we do things? Let us know in the comments down below. And anything you hear today resonates with you, or you feel like somebody else could resonate with it, like, click, and share this and subscribe, so then you get updates to when we jump on and we go live. Because just like me, sometimes I need a mother lover reminder, right? So Miss Isela, would you like to go ahead and introduce our beautiful guest today?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. Bernadette, Bibi, Herran, and I have been friends for many years. I was thinking about this the other day because, geez, I've been kind of on my own consulting. It's been more than 10 years, right? Yeah, I mean, it's
20.
has it been 20 years? No, has it really?
She did this twice. I think that's 20.
Okay. 20 years. So it's been a long time, and we started. I always like to share this story because I used to be a director at a crisis intervention program, and we had only one position really available, and it wasn't the position that she was really looking for. But our interview, what were you there for, like an hour or something? Like you were there for like more than like a regular interview time. And we just connected, and I remember speaking to whoever, because we were like a small panel of people, and I just said, we just have to hire her, and I don't know for what, but she's got to come work over here. So we have been friends since, and I'm excited to have you here. Welcome, Bernadette.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm really enjoy listening to Isela and talk about your lives here and your podcast. It's exciting, and I'm all for it. Loving to be a part of it. I just this plus more. Thank you for having me.
Well, we are excited about knowing more about you, and you all are going to hear, I think, a very fascinating story. Our podcast is really built about being brown, number one, but really, I think it can connect to, across all ethnicities and all races. But I think what's really such an interesting part of you is that you are a dual citizen here in Mexico, in the United States and in Mexico. And so you grew up in Mexico. So I would love to just get a little bit of background so you can share with our listeners just where you come from and what that experience was like for you.
Yes, sure. I grew up in San Luis Potosí, Mexico. It's right in the center of the country. My father is from San Luis Potosí, and my mother is from the United States. She is from Minnesota and California. And so my father and my mother met in California. And so just a quick, interesting fact. My father was in California as an exchange student for 3 summers in a row. And it was my mother's family who was his host family.
Oh, I don't think I knew that. That's really cool.
My father was, yeah, he was they called him the 11th child. And it took me years to finally say to my mom. My mom would say, he was like my brother. I'm like, Mom, you need to stop saying that.
Yeah, don't say that shit out loud.
Yeah, so it's funny. And what she was trying to say is we have so much in common, and my family loves him. And so anyway, they decided to move to Mexico when I was a baby. I was 5 months old. And we moved to Mexico, to my father's hometown of San Luis Potosí. And my mother loved it, and she learned Spanish with us. So she learned to love San Luis Potosí. United States, every summer we visited my grandma, my grandpa, and my cousins and my aunts and uncles in California and the Bay Area. And so we grew up. So my sister and I used to say, we're not, no somos ni de aquí ni de allá. And it's a quote from La India Maria, which is a character in movies, Mexican movies when I was growing up. And so later, we are visiting Mexico after we had been living in the US for a couple years. We met up in Mexico in our hometown. And I said to my sister, Chris, ¿te acuerdas cuando decíamos que no éramos ni de aquí ni de allá? Do you remember when we used to say, we're not from here, we're not from there? She goes, yeah. And then I said, I have a new saying now. She goes, what? I'm like, we are from here and we are from there. And that was beautiful for both of us. We were like, we're from both places. This is very cool.
And did you ever
So in a nutshell, that's been my
we're having a little bit of a
experience.
glitchiness here. Did you ever feel I don't want to say displaced, but like disconnected from either the United States or the people of Mexico? Like, did you ever feel displaced, or did you feel connected in some way at all times?
Not at all times. There were times where I felt disconnected and times where I felt connected, which is why we used to say that. We did feel different, and people told us we were different because, so when we were visiting our cousins in the United States, in California, our cousins would introduce us as their Mexican cousins. And when we were in San Luis Potosí with our cousins, having a summertime in the racket club, swimming and getting to know kids from other places of the world, maybe, or of the United States, they would say, these are our American cousins. And so, and I'm from Mexico. I'm from here. Why are you calling me your American cousin? Well, I had an American mom that stood out like a sore thumb in many ways, culturally. And not so much her looks, but really just culturally, and her accent and her language and her way of being was different. So that was obvious, and it's obvious for kids, and kids speak it out loud. And so that we did feel misplaced many times.
Very cool. And so tell us a little bit before we get into, because this is really about our spiritual journey, right? And tell us a little bit about what you do. I think that's an important part of this journey for you. So share a little bit about that.
I'm sorry, I missed you. Can you repeat the question?
Just share a little bit about what you do.
Absolutely. Yes, I am. So I'm in the business, not business, I guess, yes, business. I'm in the area, I'm in the field of social and emotional development. And so I'm a consultant. I'm a consultant with I have several like main contracts, if you may. One of them is called a company is called Conscious. I consult for that company, and then I also have contracts with local agencies here in the Phoenix area, where I provide services like a reflective supervision for staff, for people who work in early childhood field as teachers or as special educators, or also as mental health professionals or mental health consultants. And so in a nutshell, yeah, that's what I do. I'm very passionate about it, and is definitely connected to my spiritual experience in life. I feel that this role or this work that I do of being in this world is part of my calling, part of my what gives meaning to me as Bibi, and as part of this world, this part of this yeah, part of this life that I'm living right now.
So let's talk about your spiritual development, because I want to kind of jump into that. I think there's an absolute, because I know you, there's an alignment between the work that you do and your spirituality. So yeah, let's jump into that and just share kind of what your journey's been like.
Yes, the fun
Sure,
stuff.
sure. So I grew up Catholic. I grew up Catholic in Mexico, and I grew up in I went to school, to a private school. They were called the Religious of Sacred Heart. They still are called that. And although that sounds sometimes contradictory to what I'm about to say, they were the people who really truly connected me or introduced me to a spiritual life, a life that was beyond religion, a spiritual life beyond forms and traditions, but really a life of connectedness with the world around me and with the people around me and with the life around me. They were the ones. They are fantastic. They still exist. They really spiritual life, which was what they used to call tu vida interior, your interior life. That's really the how you connect to the exterior life. And that was, and so I've been so I feel fortunate and lucky and excited to have grown in my spirituality thanks to that. But I have to add something to that. My mother is a spiritual woman. She is a very spiritual woman. She's also a religious woman, and her spiritual life, the way I see it, and I think the way she experiences it is that her religion is her spirituality, right? And the way that I experience her is that I connect with the way that she loves and connects and accepts and reflects and allows things to be how they are. And so my mom is, I would say, my first teacher in spirituality, guide, and then my experience with the Religious of Sacred Heart. And so later on, I, grew into my own and who I am, and away from religion. But certainly, I had a jump start with religion. And so, although I think that religion is a path for many people to find, and I think it continues to be, and it's an amazing opportunity for many, my route took a different turn in terms of religion.
And so what would have been the,
Um,
sorry, we're a little glitchy, so we're just kind of trying to play catch up here. What are the things that have happened in your life that have been pretty significant in terms of your spiritual development?
yeah, I would say moving to the United States at age 23 for a master's program opened up parts of my heart that I never knew existed. My freedom. So it's not only connected to the freedom of being me in a different world, in a different country, in a different environment, but also opened up many closed doors of my heart. And so it opened up sort of a world of endless possibilities of how I connect with the world and the people around me. And I'm in a just like an open way, like my life just went like, oh, there's more to the forms that I have in her, to the ideas, so much more to the ideas I have in my head. So coming to United States, and then I would say being a mother, and then the recent one, about 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and that was probably un parteaguas, which is like parting waters, is the figurative language of what my experience in breast cancer was. I went from feeling very anxious and scared about safety and illnesses to now feeling less scared, less anxious, and more present, and just, I guess happier, maybe more fulfilled, even though it was definitely an opening to new ways of feeling and being.
I would like to talk more about that, because I think that, I mean, obviously, it's a very scary experience. And I can only imagine, you know, with friends that I've had, kind of that journey of from the moment you're told that you have cancer, that, you know, however, because there are lots of ways that cancer shows up for people, from that moment of feeling what you felt into what happened through that journey. Because I think just knowing who you are, and I think your story is important because, you know, I think a lot came from that experience.
Yes, I would say the first thing that I would love to share is that I'm training right before cancer. Most of my trainings, I'm talking about breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, really being able to access calm with deep breathing. And I practice it, but to say I practice it consistently is not true, right? It's a lie. And so once diagnosis happened, the first day, the day that I went to the ultrasound, and the doctor in the ultrasound office came in and said, "I'm sure this is cancer," even though there wasn't a biopsy yet. That day, I began my journey of meditation and breathing, and consistently, intentionally, every day, every morning, every evening, and in the middle of the day whenever I need it. I truly begin that connection of that's what I talked about, mind, spirit, and body for years. And it wasn't until that happened that I truly experienced joining my heart with my body, with my mind, through meditation and through breathing, audible breaths, diaphragmatic breaths, and just being in that present moment. And I've not stopped since that day. That's one of the biggest learnings and sharings that I would love to give.
So in a sense, because I know when you said you came to America, right, and your heart opened up a little bit, right? What I just kind of heard is that this was another level of your heart opening up through this experience, right? Like most people most people will go like, oh no, right? Because we're taught here in America, like, and that's another thing that's really cool, right? Is you said growing up, people would say things to you and tell you things like, oh, these are my Mexican family members, right? People have been telling us all kinds of shit through our whole lives, right? And so as I'm hearing this, and it's kind of crazy because you come here, one, boom, things unlock in your heart. Here's another supposed to be a life devastating thing. Boom, your heart opens up. What do you think where does that come from? Like, what was it inside of you? And then here's another crazy thing to me, right? Like, Catholicism was a way to your spirituality, right? Like those people actually help open you up. It's like, what the fuck? Where were those people for me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome, right? Because this is your story is so unique and amazing. I was sitting here, I haven't been talking because I'm soaking all this shit in. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? No wonder why the computer's glitching, right? Because the story is like so unique and powerful that is fucking up the system. Right? That's what we're doing here. And so that's amazing. So where do you think that came from? Like what opened up inside of you? How are you able to be so cool, calm, and collective in the pocket, right? You've been training your whole life, and then all of a sudden it's like, I know what to do. Like, how do you think that happens?
You know, I think that part of my spiritual journey throughout my whole life, I'll explain it with an example. I was about 27, 28, living in the US. I've known Isela, and I looked at my journals that I wrote in 5th grade, and then a journal I've been writing when I was like 22, 23, when it was a crucial time in my life when I was deciding to come to the US and leaving the RSCJ, which is the Religions of Sacred Heart that I thought of joining back then. So I was looking
Yes. I don't mean to laugh, but that's just funny.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I have friends who are nun friends. I just saw one of them, Reina, in New York when I was there in May. And so I was thinking of joining when I was that age, that young. And I remember, I decided not to, and I'm going through my journals, and I had already made the decision to go to the United States for my master's. But listen, I went through my journals and I started seeing this line of the path that took me to today. And I was like reading again and reading and going, and okay, this is a big deal for me to say this because I fight with the idea that this is pre-thought of, premeditated. I can't stand that. Okay. But I am spiritual. And so I'm looking at this, brought me it seems like it was supposed to happen, right? There's this like journey, right? And that I can see in my, and I made those steps. I took those steps, and I don't want anyone to take that away from me. No premeditative like idea is going to take away my freedom of making these choices. But I certainly, and like, I think that one of the ways of saying it is like seeing God through your in your journey, like the God, which is connectedness, the walk of God through your life, which is this connectedness, this sense of you are together with something, with someone bigger than you, with life, with possibility, with endless possibility. That's what I can see in my journals, like this path that takes me to today.
Wow, I could feel that, right? I could see the excitement in your eyes and your energy, and I'm pretty sure people you listening could just feel that, right? That's super dope. Like 5th grade, you were journaling since the 5th grade or 3rd grade? Where did I hear that? And then you connected the dots backwards, right? You looked back, you reverse engineered your life, and you could see the line like, holy shit, like what? Like this has been with you for a long time. Like you kept yourself a little notebook so you could go back and say, hey, that is freaking incredible, right? You just give me more power to start journaling now. So like when I'm 85, right? Right. So I would be like, hey, I just started journaling till I was 38. right? Like you've been doing this shit since the 5th grade. That's so amazing because people told me that doing that type of shit was for women. It was for girls, right? Journaling was like a girl's type of way, keeping a diary, right? So, wow, thank you for sharing that and letting us know that, right? Because these concepts are a little crazy, people, right? Like struggling with life being predetermined for us in the beginning, right? But then you look back and like, holy shit. But once again, right, you still had to make those choices in order to be here.
There's the
Right.
free will.
You had a choice to get to America. You had a choice to listen to the calling of your heart. You had the choice to say, hey, this is an obstacle that I'm gonna overcome versus this is an obstacle that's gonna destroy me with the cancer. Right. Yeah. So yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing. That's very powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
This is gonna help so many people open up.
what came from that though, Bernadette? Bibi. I'm so in my head. You're Bernadette.
I know. I know.
So what I think what I want, there are a lot of people who experience this. There are a lot of people who experience cancer in one shape or another, one form or another, right? And I think, and I just watched my father-in-law go through this experience as well. And he is the most, it's so fascinating to me because I've been trying to figure it out by just being an observer of him. And, you know, he's one of those people, I don't know that it comes from a place of not wanting to burden others. I really just believe he believes that this positive thinking, that he's going to be fine, that everything's going to be fine, is such an important part of who he is. It's just who he is in general. Like we just figure it out, we work it out, it's going to be fine. And I think that has significantly impacted the outcome of his experience. Now, I don't want to say that that happens for everybody and that that's the end all be all. But I watch that and I think it's so powerful, the attitude, the just the energy around it. So like what was that for you? Because I think people, I would like for people to hear your experience around that.
Absolutely. This is a big deal to me. I would say that I, like your father-in-law, I kind of personality, right? Like a mind over matter personality, like it's gonna be, I've got this, I'm gonna do it. Like that did kick in me, right? I've got this, I'm gonna do it. I can see the path. Now that was not the only thing that happened. Like I definitely am someone who paused and allowed to feel all the feelings. I was scared, I was frustrated, I was overwhelmed, I was panicked, I felt sad, I felt angry, I felt jealous, I felt all the feelings and I allowed that. And I think part of my journey, my spiritual journey, and my canal processes, social and emotional processes, helped, allowed me to have an avenue to understanding my feelings and allowing them to come out and befriending my feelings. That comes from conscious discipline. So that is definitely something that helped me. And I also was introduced to an experience that was very hurtful and difficult for me to live, which was people's imposition of, you need to be positive, you need to be positive. And I had a lot of people say things to me that weren't positive, but what it really was people's feelings of scared and anxiety and fear of what could happen to them. And so when people are fearful of what's going to happen to you and fearful of what could happen to them, it comes out with sentences like, you know that cancer doesn't exist. You know that you created it. You need to find out the source of it so that it doesn't kill you or doesn't come back to you. People also said things like, you know that breast cancer is related to your right breast cancer is related to your daddy issues, so you need to work on those. People said things like, God chose you because God knew that you could handle it and you would be an example for all of us. All right. People also said, you, you know, you are given that so that you can be an example to others, like another way of saying it. And those sentences, all of that was not helpful to me at all.
Mhm.
It sounds
And
like more of that people
But I
telling
was,
you what shit is.
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so mostly, I mean, what I did though, this is what I feel was powerful. And I would, you know, kind of toot my own horn and give myself this sense of empowerment and strength, was that when people said that to me, I initially felt uh affected by it. And within 5 to 10 minutes, I transformed that into understanding. I reframed it. I was able to say, they are trying to process this information for themselves. They're trying to make sense of it, and they're trying to give me love. And their love is, their love, it maybe they are not regulating their feelings, but their intention is to connect with what's going on with me. And I take that love. I learned to take that love and say, they're noticing me, they're seeing me, and that comes from a place of love. Even though I also took the opportunity to teach people during those times. And I would say something that one of my really good friends said to me once: but you're so evolved, why did it happen to you? And I remember telling her, I said, listen to what you're saying, say it again. Say it again. You are so evolved. Why did this happen to you? I said, listen, as if I didn't do enough to keep myself healthy. You're saying I didn't do enough to keep myself free from. And I said to her, no, that's not how I see it. Shit happens, you know, illnesses happen. And I said, just like we have free will in our emotional life and our behaviors, there is free will in the world of cells, and then the world of science. Things happen. They happen. And do I have to do something with the happening? Yes. But am I the only variable? No, I'm not the only variable. Things happen. And then I said to her, how I respond to this that's happening is what it's about. It's about how I respond.
Boom, shakalaka, right? To all you haters out there that are listening to this shit, because she's talking about stuff, right? Especially in the spiritual world, right? We got that spiritual bypass shit. We got that shit that says, like, they try to link it to all these other things, but you felt the emotions. You did what you felt, right? Was going to be the path for you, because it's a unique journey. And right now that is mind blowing again, right? You took something way over here from your childhood, right? Catholicism, and you got spiritual grounding from that, and you got a spiritual upliftment from that, right? Came to America, you felt your heart opened up. Then you're in this realm where you're getting cancer. People are projecting what it kind of sounds like, all their fears and ideologies that come from all over the place, and making you feel like you have to go and search all this shit. You were able to go, hold on, what works for me? Like, holy smokes, you're breaking the mold on so many levels. It's like blowing my mind right now. Thank you for bringing this beautiful soul on, Isela, because holy shit, people are gonna be like, what the just happened? It's like, yeah, you know what happened? Brown and Spiritual AF just happened to you guys, right? Like,
I think that, yeah, I think it's an important story to tell. Because it's not just cancer, right? It could be so many things that happen in our lives, and it could be circumstantial, right? Something that happens, you lose your job, you lose your, it's like it's so many things that happen is really based on, or not based on, but we get a choice. We get a choice on how we're going to experience it. And I think the point that you brought up about you let yourself feel what you feel, because there's two extremes, right? It's like, I'm gonna feel what I feel, and I stay in that. I stay in the fear, I stay in the sadness, I stay in it, and I get stuck in it. And then there's the other extreme where it's like that spiritual bypass piece, where it's like, I can't feel anything that's happening. I'm not gonna let myself feel that, because God is gonna handle everything. Right? And so I think that your story of, for me, it feels like such a balanced experience, and that's a bad word probably to try to describe this. But for a lot of us, I know for me personally, I wasn't given permission to feel what I felt. And so for a long time, that reconnecting to my emotions and just allowing myself to feel fear and to feel sadness and to feel that, and yet have the inner strength. And I think what you're describing to me, what it sounds like is surrendering. You have this surrender, and I saw you do this with your twins, because she has twins, and when she was pregnant, you had to go on medical leave, right? Or like you were bedridden, because I remember I spent many days at your house and when you were bedridden, and you just kind of surrendered to the experience and just allowed that to happen in your life. So I think it's so much of who you are. Are you stuck? I don't.
Yeah, I'm stuck. I heard everything you said.
Okay.
I heard everything you said. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the surrendering piece is surrendering. So I've always been so afraid of surrendering, meaning my freedom is taken away, and
Right there with you.
right, right. And so, like the day before I was going to get married, I told my mom, I'm so afraid. I don't want to ever feel like a bird in a cage. And my mom said to me, and that is only up to you, that you have the freedom to. And I remember hugging her, like, how does she know to say that? Right? And that partner is not up to your friends. It's not up to your anything. It's up to you. And I'm like, I never lose my freedom. And so surrendering to 13 weeks of bed rest or surrendering to chemotherapy, it doesn't mean that I'm not an active participant. It means that I am in the present moment responding in calm and in connectedness to what's happened, trying to tune away that keeps me anxious or the noise that keeps me fearful. And then in that presence, I can feel my fear. I can feel my anxious, and then I can talk to it, and I can hug it, and I can go through it. And I like to call it walking through the scary enchanted forest and finding joy in that some of these things end up not being so scary once you decide to walk through it.
Oh man, perception is key, right? Perception is a lot, right? Like I think about that. You said your mom is wise too. Like holy smokes, I can see why you grew up the way you are right now, right? I can see how your awareness was able to be uplifted and projected out into the world in a positive, healthy way, right? Because I have a friend, right, and she's growing up, and it's really dope that these souls are becoming aware even earlier in life, right? And so she told me a story yesterday about she's seen things in a strange way, right, and trying to make sense of it in the world, right? And she went and told this story to her friends, right? And her friends turned around and told her, you need to stop saying shit like that. This is crazy. You might be going crazy. You might be schizophrenic or manic, depressed, whatever the fuck, right? Whatever these people say, they're projecting their fears onto people, right? And then she told me the story, right? And I heard the story and I'm like, wow, you have amazing eyes and awareness to be able to see these types of things, right? That's kind of cool. Now, what we decide to do with this is really up to us. We could live in a fearful world, right, of cancer, where it's going to destroy you, where, oh my gosh, I'm going to get married, I'm going to be caged up because I'm scared of marriage because I don't want to be put in a cage. But now that you say that shit, right? I'm like, what the fuck? Why do I want one girlfriend? I'm like, I have 20, right? But that's my old perception is saying like having multiple partners, it was like praised back then, right? But it was a perception. Now I look at it as like, wait a minute. No, man, I have the opportunity, right, to build with somebody. And if I'm in prison, well, then I choose to feel that way, right? The prison is really in my head. Wow, thank you for she's dropping so many gems. Bibi is a gem dropper today, guys, in an unconventional way, people. So you guys might want to listen to this a few other times, right? So what was the key point? Like, how did you manage to not see yourself as a caged bird in your marriage? Right? Because this is going to carry on and through your whole journey, because this all connected, right?
Absolutely. I think so. One of the things was, so when my partner, my husband, Carl, when we were going through the process of we were going to get married, one of the things that we learned in like a class that we took, it stayed with us. It was let yourself be influenced by one another. That was, we kept saying that for years. Let yourself be influenced by one another. And so the thing is, we are not ever on our own. We are in the context of a relationship, no matter what relationship it is, no matter what relationship, we are in the context of a relationship. When we're a baby, when we're a toddler, when we're a preschooler, we're always in the context of a relationship. So when you're so if I chose to be with Carl, then the road to my internal freedom and external freedom is the relationship. So freedom, if I'm scared of losing my freedom, I stop, I put a wall up in front of me, and I'm not in a relationship. But if I go, all right, I'm free, then the walls are down. And so my throwing myself into the relationship with Carl of saying, all right, here we go, for and with our shit and with our grace and with our awesomeness by one another. Let yourself be influenced by one another became for me like, okay, here I go. And in my relationship with Carl, it's one of my only relationships where he would put up a mirror just naturally who he is, and I could see myself in my rawness and in my imperfectionness and my oops, and yet be okay. Because I grew up with a lot of people saying how wonderful I am. You're great. And so the messages that I always I lost like my how can I say this to or I wasn't as reflective about myself and my behaviors as I was when I met my husband. And so when I met Carl, so the relationship of Carl and I like grew my sense of myself, my spirituality, my place in this world. So that was another opening of my heart. And so, does that make any sense? I think I went all over the place now, but
it makes a lot of sense, right? Because I think in this day and age, people are like, fuck this, I'm going to be who I am. You're not going to tell me how I'm going to be, or you're not going to, but the words, let yourself be influenced by one another, right? To me, like that touches my heart, because before I was like, this girl ain't going to change me. Like, just because I'm over here, that doesn't mean I'm going to change. But changing and being upgraded, right, for a higher level, right, becoming more aware is that's amazing, because now I'm able to look into a relationship, whether it's relationship with church, whether it's relationship with my spirituality, whether it's relationship with illness, right, or a dis-ease in the body, right, a relationship right here, right now. Right. Like, for instance, I was late today. Right. I woke up and it was just really rare for me to not show up on time. Right. Because my mom used to be like, motherfucker, you better get to where you got to go and be on time all the time. So I'm always that person that's like, I'm 15 minutes early or I'm late. Right. On time is late. Right. But we were able to roll through this. Right. And we're all pretty, I love that you brought up relationships, right? And how we perceive these things and how we perceive surrendering to the moment, right? I could have been myself up this whole time, but I didn't. I surrendered to the moment and said, let's just let things go the way they are. Mm-hmm. And everybody's frozen. Did we break the internet?
No, you're not.
We broke it.
You're good. I know. Okay. I'm having weird glitches.
I heard you.
Yeah.
I heard you the whole time, though. I heard you the whole time.
Yeah. So this is powerful stuff, people. If you're listening, if you're paying attention to what Bibi's saying, right, and how Isela articulates and asks the questions, and we kind of just bring it together, we're surrendering to this moment right here, right now, right? And that's how magic works. Get on that surfboard and ride the waves of life. Whew.
Yeah, actually,
I want to add something.
Go ahead, Bernadette. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to add. Okay. I was going to add something. When I, again, back to the cancer diagnosis, which was it's putting all of my journey together. When I, after the cancer diagnosis, 2 days after it, I was crying. I was feeling strong emotions, and I took my husband Carl to the table. I'm like, sit down, and I said, listen, anything that you and I need to work on, anything that we've not discussed, anything that we've not touched, anything that we've not put focus on about our relationship, about who we are and how we dance together and how we do this family thing, it's going to be on the table, because we're going to do this. Are you in? And he said yes. He said yes. And that was another layer of our growth. And believe me, it's not rainbows and no, it's it's really kind of looking at ourselves and there's so many mistakes and oopses and there's so many hurts, and then there's so much healing, and there's so much opportunity, and there's so much going through that forest, that enchanted scary forest together.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, that two things can exist in the same time, right? So you can feel fear and you can feel healing at the same time. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Like, those experiences can exist, and then we get to choose in any moment what to have and not feel guilt about that. I think that's it. Like, we need to stop shitting all over ourselves, feeling guilt about
stop shitting on yourself.
Stop feeling guilt about what you're feeling, what you could have, should have done. Just be in the moment, be in that experience. Yeah. I think you're, go ahead.
I was going to say it was hard. It's still hard. It's still hard to go through this, and we have very difficult moments, right? And sometimes we have a mismatch, right? My needs aren't being met, your needs aren't being met, and then but the experience that we've had has allowed both of us to be able to catch it earlier than later and go, oh, right, look at me, look at me, something I'm doing right now that's contributing to this lack of connection. And then he goes, oh, there I am. Okay. I got it. I caught myself. I saw myself. And so I'm coming back to that connection. And so it's that journey of being able to recognize when we step away from it, when we need to step away from it. It's okay. It's okay. And then I consciously choose to step back into that connection. And so it's like it's just the opportunity to be able to look at ourselves and make that. Did I freeze?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah. So I talked about the choice of looking at yourself in that role, in that relationship, in that journey of yours, and then making the choice to come back to connection with any person that you are in relationship with, right? Not just your partner, but your parents and your best friends.
You look like you were going to say something, Mark.
No, go ahead. I've been waiting to hear what you have to say.
You know what? I actually kind of wanted to make mention the surfboard that you said, surfing through life, Mark. I think that's a really good analogy or metaphor, because I mean, think about that. You know, there are all these waves that are happening, and and I don't surf, so this is from an observer standpoint. But you
Me
know,
either.
the waves that are going, you know, they're continually responsive, right? The person standing on the board is responsive to what's happening below them in order to stay balanced. And it's really fascinating because I think that someone who surfs can completely ignore that and just automatically respond, or actually in the moment experience each of those waves as this glorious, incredible experience of surfing. I think that's, you know, I have friends that have children who are sort of, they call it addicted to surfing. Like they're up every morning, they're out in the on the waters, and I think it's the exhilaration and the experience that of being in that moment and one with the ocean. I think that's such a good metaphor for anything that we experience in life. You know, what do we need to do to stay balanced while feeling what's going on within our experience? I think it's pretty powerful.
It really is, right? Because when you think about the ocean that Bibi has been in, right, it's like it gets turbulent at times. But those waves, right? There's surfers out there like, hell yeah, I want that big one, and they don't allow it to come crashing down on them, right? Through their training, through their awareness, right? Through their love of what they do, they learn how to get up on that mother lover, and they're not controlling the wave. All they're doing is being able, right, to harness the power of it with the tool that's under their feet and ride this thing to wherever it goes, right? So it's a relationship between the rider, right, and the surfboard and the wave, right? And I think that's really awesome. And it's really cool how through Bibi's story, we're able to see the waves that had tried to come into her life and the way she was able to jump on that board, right? Or if something did crash, right, she didn't give up. She just did it again and again and got up. Like to sit at the table and say, okay, husband, right? Anything that we haven't worked through, right? Anything we haven't done is going to be put on this mother lover table. Are you in? Right? Because that's fucking straightforward. That's like saying, check this out. Are you in? Yes or no? Right? Because if not, well, I'm going to have to figure this shit out. Right? And you can go over there. But if you're in, this is what it's going to take. Right? Nowadays, that relationship between us is not even like that. Right? We go and do shit that's not like, we go against our morals or our values all the time. Like I go to work and I had to tell myself, okay, Mark, what waves are going to show up today, right? And there might be some, like I could predict some that are going to come, right? But there might be some that just show up. And then I had to sit down with myself, like, okay, there's going to be some shit on the table, Mark. What are you willing to be a part of and what are you not willing to be a part of? And what are you going to do about it? Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that has a lot to do with relationships, like you said, with your husband, with the dis-ease, with the people in our lives right here, right? Because I had to learn to surf a little bit different also in relationships and communicating, right? So real quick, I had this, the shit is happening in my life and somebody's coming in and it's just a really strange to me connection, right? Especially emotionally, right? Like, no, my walls want to go, right? But I get to choose to experience, what'd you say? We get to experience, let the other influence us, right? And don't be scared of that, right? And then something happened, and then there was a text message that said, hey, check this out. This is not about you, right? This is, I don't know what I'm feeling right now. I don't know. I have to work on myself, but I wouldn't like to not move forward. We can be friends, but not the type that kiss, right? That kind of thing. And right? And I understand that. And a part of me wanted to be upset and your heart goes down. But the upper part of me, because of seeing this thing from another wave, right? It's like, okay, here comes a wave. I'm going to jump out the motherfucker a different way, right? And being able to see, because this person was so powerful, had such awareness to say, I don't know. I have to feel what I'm feeling. I don't know what I'm feeling. We got caught up in the moment. And it felt good right there. But I need to know what it's like a little bit more, right? And instead of looking at that as rejection, right? This person had enough awareness to say, wait a minute. I fucked up a lot of shit in my life probably. And when we're going too fast, things get complicated. Let's just let's just see what the beach is like for a little while, right? Before I get in that motherfucker, right? Because my surfboard is not ready, right? And that's okay, because as you're sitting here talking to me, saying this kind of stuff, it's like sitting down at the table, right? I said, hey, this is what I would like. What your expectations are, I have no idea, but this is what I need in my life. And are you able to provide this? Woo! Man, you're like, we can't make this shit up, people.
I love that. I love that story you shared. I think I think that this person's text or honesty or vulnerability of explaining is what also aided you or helped you respond instead of react, right? So that
Oh,
vulnerability that that person provide, put themselves in, allowed you to then go, oh, responding instead of reacting, right? So it took both of you to be able to stay in that place of me, not so much to me, right? This is happening. It's not an attack, it's not a rejection, it's life.
yeah. And I'm holding my heart because this shit's scary. Like, people don't know this, but I really, like, I bring myself and my current situations up here, and there's always somebody that's able to mirror back to me what's going on in my own life, because that's what this is. And I'm really hot and like nervous right now. Like, so thank you for bringing that out of me and allowing me to say that out through your amazing stories and the way you've been able to jump on your surfboard and ride the waves in this fucking life, right? Woo!
What are you still working on, Bernadette? As a final question, what are you still working on?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
It got frozen, so I was oh gosh, what am I still working on? So much. So freedom is always the topic that I'm working on. Well, it's one of them, right? It's always it's a journey. It's I'm not there, right? It's not like I've arrived. Have I matured or have felt some fulfillment around that topic, around that? Yes. But is it ever over? I travel for work. And so I am constantly evaluating and looking at how much travel, how much less, how much more. My family is a priority. My sense of freedom is also priority, and how do I continue to to allow those to coexist. I've so that's something that I'm are continuing to be attuned and receptive to the needs of my kids and my husband. Like I'm someone who is sometimes my feelings and my emotions and my needs come first. And although that sounds like that's a beautiful thing, it is a beautiful thing, but it comes with some challenges. It comes with some challenges of not being able to be attuned to someone else's needs. So I continue to be in that journey of empathy, of being able to practice empathy, actively practice empathy with those closest to me, including my parents and my siblings. My siblings would jump on a plane for me anytime, and I sometimes say, would I do that? And my heart will, but will I physically do that? I'm connected to my siblings and I love them, but would I jump on the plane or leave this? What I'm saying is, my sister Chris, she gives so much to each one of us. She experiences a lot of empathy for each one of us, and she inspires me and invites me to think outside of myself. So that's where I'm at right now.
Are we glitching or are we just stuck?
I think we're just like paused at that moment because that's so beautiful, right? And like
Yeah.
sometimes silence is just okay to let that shit sink in,
Mhm.
right? So that my mouth, my rest of my day is gonna be amazing.
Well, thank you, Bernadette,
Oh,
for being here with us. Is there any final thing that you would like to share with folks, or words of wisdom?
I don't know. I would no, not really. I think I love being able to be connected to others, both of you who also fuel their life and the life of others with reflection and with connectedness. And I think I just leave with a happy heart and connected to both of you. It's felt nice to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for showing up, right? Whoo!
Now we do have, I don't know if you've got like 4 minutes. If we do have a couple people watching, if anybody has any questions for any of us for Bibi, please feel free to drop a question.
Yes, this would be a perfect time, people, because OMG, if you've been listening to this or this is a rewatch, you're going to wish you were here to ask these questions because she's full of so many gems. I'm telling you, like, man, enriching lives, right? How can people find you, Bibi? Like, you know what I mean? That's another thing. Like, how can people find you? How can they come in and learn more and dig in?
Yeah, I'm so like not social media. Isela knows that, but
Can
I
you send
have
me
an
like smoke signals?
I have an email address. I mean, right? Email. My email is bbherran@gmail.com. It's easy. So altogether, bbherran@gmail.com.
How do you spell that for those that like, I would be like, how the hell do you spell that? So like, I'm asking for me. How would you spell that?
Yeah. So BIBIHERRAN @gmail.com.
Boom. Perfect. So there you go, people. Now, if you want to know more, or if you're scared to ask your questions, right? You have some any intimate things that you would like to go because you're going through some type of wave, right? Like your waves are similar to Bibi's. Well, now you can reach out to her, and I'm pretty sure she'll reach back out to you and be able to connect with you and create that relationship and whatever it is that you're going through to help pull you through it, because that's what she helped me do today through her story of like coming to America, right? Being a dual citizen, and I'm from here and there at the same time. Before it was like, I ain't from here or there. I'm like in this in between, right? And then to be able to sit down and have this conversation with her husband, right? And then to be here today, right? Glitching all over the place, but we just flowed with it, right? There's just so much you could take away from this when we sit back and we actually listen, and not only listen and soak in the information, but she said, I'm going to rephrase this a little bit, she was about it. She didn't just talk about it. She was about it, right? She didn't just sit here and just hope and pray that something was going to save her. She became the savior, right? She jumped on that mother loving surfboard and said, let's go. So thank you for that. That's super beautiful, Bibi. Thank you for being here. I know you got to go here pretty soon. Isela, did you want to stay on a little bit, or are we just going to say, psh?
I think we're good.
Good.
I think we're good. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you everybody for tuning on in to Brown and Spiritual AF. Let us know down in the comments what resonated with you. Like, subscribe, share with anybody, once again, that's going through any of these types of situations, or could have a little crash course on relationships, because on the when you listen to this is basically what this was about, right? So any last words you have, Miss Isela, for our listeners?
No, I'm just looking forward to our upcoming podcasts. In 2 weeks, we will be back on. If there is anyone, I was thinking about if there was anyone who kind of people think that we should speak to, just let us know. We can reach out and kind of get a sense if there are others that would be in a good alignment with what we're doing here on Brown and Spiritual AF.
Oh shit, you just gave me tingles. We're opening it up, people. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I got a great story, you guys got to hear this. And or you're scared and you want to see what it's like to step up and share, right? Because sharing is caring. I know you hear that a lot, but through your story, people, right? It doesn't matter how dirty, how deep, how dark it is, or even could be full of light and rainbows and unicorns, right? People out there are going to resonate with that, right? And the only way you're ever going to know is if you step out.
That's right.
So yes, thank you for that, Miss Isela. That took me by surprise.
Have a good evening, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you. Love you. Much love and light.